Hello everyone, this is Brett. Thanks for tuning into the latest episode of Eclectic Playlist, where I show some records that have been in rotation over the past week. There's a couple of new releases, and then the rest of it is all stuff from the collection. All right, let's kick things off with the two new releases. So this is from the British post-punk gothic rock group called And Also the Trees. Their first album came out back in 1984. Kind of a little hard to describe And Also the Trees. Vocally, it's almost like a melodic spoken word, fronted by Simon Hugh Jones and then his brother Justin Jones on guitar. And the guitar we hear somewhat sounds like electric 12-string, a la like the Byrds. And then his style of playing is it sounds like very fast tremolo picked, and that's where you take the guitar pick and you just pick the string really fast, and it gives it almost like a mandolin effect. And so The Bone Carver is the name of this one, their 15th album, and comes with an insert with all the lyrics to the songs. I've been reading the latest Stephen King novel, Fairy Tale, with the little time I have to read these days, and this has been my soundtrack for a lot of what I've read so far. All right, next up, this one doesn't really need much of an introduction. I'm sure a lot of people are showing this one in videos across YouTube. I remember getting this one when it came out back on CD, 1992, when CDs came in those pictured long boxes. And this is Alison Chain's second album, Dirt. This one had been unavailable on vinyl forever, so they just did a 2 LP version of this. Comes with an insert. It's not a gatefold sleeve. This one, one of those killer closing tracks, the song Wood, the late Mike Starr on bass, which was featured in the movie Singles, which I remember seeing with my brother back when that came out around that time, which focused on the Seattle music scene. Them Bones, which was another single, Rooster, Down in a Hole, Alison Chain's Dirt. All right, next up, so here's a band, we did a show, my band Audra did a show back in June with Gene Loves Jezebel, and they were on tour with Rose Garden Funeral Party. Great band from Dallas, Texas, kind of dark post-punk goth rock. And as the album cover implies, take cover, it is a collection of all cover songs. Really well produced, sounds great. Excellent musicians and performances. Singer Leah Lane, in addition to being a very nice person, really a great vocalist. So I'll hold up the track listing here. They were nice enough to put the actual artist right next to the song titles that they're covering. Starts off with Gratitude, Danny Elfman from Oingo Boingo, and then a ton of the Tim Burton soundtracks he did. One of the kind of almost like a deep cut single from David Bowie, 1984's Loving the Alien from the Tonight album, one of the shining moments of the 80s for Bowie, and really faithful renditions to the originals on this one, but Leah's vocals just soar on this one. It's just a beautiful version. To Turn You On from Roxy Music, Mercy Street from Peter Gabriel from the So album, OMD's Messages, great track. Duncan Brown, one I was unfamiliar with, Ragged Rain Life, Middle of the Night from Metro. Closes out with the Spark song, The Scene. So I have the other Rose Garden Funeral Party albums in the collection that I picked up after the show as well. So if you're interested in checking them out, this may be a good starting place right here. You should be able to track these down on Bandcamp. All right, next up, other friend, longtime friend of ours, this is Lycia. So the Lycia catalog has been getting reissued over the last couple of years. That's the 1991 debut, Ionia. My band Audra and Lycia were label mates on Project Records, and we both live in Arizona as well. So this was their second album, 1993's A Day in the Stark Corner. The reissue of this on Avant Garde Music, I think they're an Italian label, did a really beautiful job with this. And it's a double record set on this green. It almost looks glow in the dark. I guess you would call it a Coke bottle green. Unfamiliar with Lycia, dark post-punk, think of like really heavy pounding drum machine, this soaring melodic guitar. Mike's vocals are real breathy, and just really powerful stuff. So that's Lycia, A Day in the Star Corner. If you're looking for an entry point, I don't think you could go wrong starting here as well, or Ionia. All right, next up, just some post-punk legends. Killing Joke, I think this is, their fifth album, 1985's Nighttime. Killing Joke was an influence on so many bands. Even Metallica covered the song from their first album, The Weight. The song The Weight from their first album. So it is the title track, Nighttime, Love Like Blood, Europe, 80s. Excellent stuff. Killing Joke. All right, next up. So there was a band that I was really into, still like them a lot. Irish group from their first album came out in the year 2000. Got it right when it came out, in the realm of like Placebo, and they were called JJ72. And their bass player Hillary Woods left just right after their last album was released, and didn't hear really anything about her or even the band after they split up shortly after. And then she emerged in like 2017 with this first solo album on the Sacred Bones label, and I'm sure I talked about this back when it came out. This is Cult. Sacred Bones, if you're unfamiliar, I'm sure I talked about them when I talked about Zola Jesus before. And really minimal instrumentation, perfect for this time of the year. Hillary's vocals are really, I don't know the proper word to use. I'm just gonna say really nice. So this is Cult, and she has another album that came out a couple years ago called Birthmarks. This is her debut. I highly recommend starting here if you're wanting to check out Hillary Woods. The tracks, Kith is my favorite. Oh, they're on the front, that's right. Inhaler, Jesus Said, Prodigal Dog. Really great stuff. All right, next up, this was, I think, my favorite album from either last year or the year before. This last couple of years are a blur. This is from the Icelandic trio known as Kaelan Mikla. So it came out digitally, and then with the way things have been backed up, the actual record didn't arrive for months and months. I feel like it was almost a year later. This is either their third or fourth album, depending on how you count it. I'm going to hold the title up and not try to pronounce it. But look at that. Sleeve has all that beautiful, like almost like a turquoise foil. Dark wave, nice pulsing bass lines, keyboards, great vocals. They just keep improving as their albums. That's the album from before. And they just keep getting better and better, and this is really their pinnacle so far. The artwork on this is so great. Has a booklet which has more of these little, I don't know what you'd call them, maybe murals. So the booklet continues that theme. Let me open this up here. All right, I got heavily calloused fingers from guitar and bass strings, so sometimes it's hard to pull these apart. Look at that. And this should still be available on Bandcamp. I so highly recommend this. The keyboard player is Solveig Matilder, which I know I've talked about before. She's released a couple of albums. Her stuff is great. The Kaelan Mikla stuff is great, and I know they're touring the U.S. I think over October, November, December, maybe. And there's a guest appearance on the 9th track from the guitar player from the French kind of shoegaze metal band Alcest. I can't even recommend a song on this one because from beginning to end, it's just excellent stuff. All right, next up, kind of a sad one. This is 2013. I can't believe this is this old. I got this the day it came out. This is Mazzy Star, Seasons of Your Day. If you're unfamiliar with Mazzy Star, you most likely have heard the song back from 1993, Fade Into You, which was a huge alternative hit back then. Mazzy Star started out, they kind of formed out of what's known as the LA Paisley Underground scene, formed out of the band Opal. And I did a Friday on the Turntable feature on this back when this came out, and I'd gotten an email from the drummer Keith Mitchell thanking me for the review, which was really nice. And sadly, he passed away a year or two ago, and David Roback, one of the main songwriter with Hope Sandoval, also had passed away. It's a double record on this really great translucent purple, and I have one of those acrylic platters on the turntable, so it just turns that whole platter just really stark purple. So Seasons of Your Day, Come and Burn, the title track, Lay Myself Down, Spoon, Sparrow, California. Definitely check this one out if you're only familiar with the first 3 albums. All right, let's close this out with Tones on Tail. Unfamiliar with Tones on Tail? If you know Bauhaus, then I guess 50% of Bauhaus was in Tones on Tail. You had Daniel Ash, the guitar player, and the drummer Kevin Haskins. Of course, those two, along with Bauhaus bass player, would go on to form Love and Rockets after the initial demise of Bauhaus. But Tones on Tail was a side project, started during the Bauhaus years in the probably like 82, and put out an album, one single album called Pop in 1984. And on bass was Glenn Campling, who was like Bauhaus's guitar tech, bass tech. So this collected tracks and the B-sides from these 3 singles right here. Burning Skies, which was a song on the album Pop. And like Bauhaus and Love and Rockets, they were really big in experimentation. They get lumped in with in the kind of goth realm, but Bauhaus, Love and Rockets, Tones on Tail were so much more than that. A lot of their stuff was very experimental, and when you listen to a lot of these non-album tracks that are on here, it just shows how experimental they were. It's a really fun listen. Probably most known for the song Go, which was their, I guess, big single. And I remember being surprised back in the early 90s when there was an episode of Beverly Hills 90210 where there was a club scene and Go was on, and I believe there was a Sisters of Mercy song playing as well. So Tones on Tail. All right, I think that closes it up for this episode. Well, let me know what you guys are listening to this month for Halloween. All right, thanks for watching, and I will see you soon. Goodbye.